Sorry about that, y'all. You'll have to let me know. Let me refresh. I don't think I'm on. I should be on Tetris 99 right now. So let me swap to. Oh no. Cooking. Food and drink. Sure. Update. You'll have to let me know. How's the mic level? Where are we at? Am I good? Do I need to better? Like, am I completely audible? Or is the music still too loud? What needs to change? I'll put this. You can hear you clearly? Sweet. Okay. So, basically, what I was going over at the start was we got some moisture out of the meat by desiccating the skin with salt. You can see some of it in the pan. If we had let it go for like 12 hours, there would have been a lot more moisture reduced, which will it will give us a better like crust when we sear it, and it'll also tenderize the meat. That was the point of the seasoning earlier. So we're going for 130 degrees internal. Insert the temperature probe into what's basically the thickest part of the meat. The cut isn't that thick. It's only about 1 inch. So it shouldn't take too long to come up to temp. So that'll give us a decent amount of time for making our we're gonna fry we're gonna, pan fry some onions, and I'm also going to attempt to make a rudimentary queso blanco. Here we got some. This is gonna heat up over here. I'll turn it down because it doesn't need to be getting super hot just yet. So we've got some onion, some basic block cheese because I was lazy, and more importantly for the blanc queso, we've got green chili. So my idea for the cheese sauce is I'm gonna make a roux. So that's equal parts butter and flour combined with a little bit of milk, and then you put in shredded cheese to create a sauce. So that's the current game plan. So I'll need some unsalted butter. We'll bring that out to soften, but one thing at a time. Let's start with the onions because I'm already getting ahead of myself here. I wish I had bought a couple other things before this. Like I wish I'd gotten some fresh garlic, some other stuff, just to like cilantro, just stuff to, garnish, make it taste better. But we're flying by the seat of our pants with this one. I've never done something like this before. So you'll have to bear with me here because I'm a scrub. I cook a lot, but I've never done any type of cooking show before. So hopefully this isn't, as the kids say, whack. So get the paper skin off. I like onion. I'm gonna cut up this whole thing. I don't think I'll end up using all of it with the steak, because that's very excessive given the amount that we have is only like a pound of meat. So I think a whole onion might be a little superfluous, or rather excessive. However, I do want to mince it, so I like onion. So I may end up using the whole thing. We'll see how I'm feeling. So do that. That's probably fine. Everything's in frame. This is kind of in the way. Sorry, I'm still trying to figure out a good way to place everything. Okay. So I don't want to mince it because I want the like the onion shreds. So I'll cut it like that, so that way that'll leave me with a bunch of strips essentially. Some of it I might have to chop a little bit better. It was just kind of a pretty rough cut, but it'll do. So got some onion, and we're gonna want to try and encourage some moisture loss in this too. We're gonna start with we're gonna sweat the onion in the pan. Which basically we're just cooking it until we get as much moisture out of it as possible and it's translucent. We're not super worried about developing color yet. That'll go, I'll probably like double fry it, or I'll sweat it and then I'll like refry it closer to steak time. Okay, so we'll put this aside for now. Oh man, it's already a mess. We've got our onion, decent amount. This can be thrown out. Okay. So we're gonna salt this. Not so much to season it, but like it will season it. But again, we're just trying to encourage some moisture loss here. So then we need some oil. I'm gonna use olive oil just because I like the taste. And we'll bring this up to temp a little bit more. I've actually never used an electric skillet for something like this before, so it's kind of a new process for me. So I'll heat that up. I guess I can start the roux process. Cheese grater, pan. Where's our flour? So the process of making a roux is pretty commonplace in cooking, for those of you who don't know. It's the primary basis for like a lot of like really good sauces. Like for example, if you've had really nice homemade mac and cheese, it's almost guaranteed been based with a roux. I don't know if this is the best way to go about making a Hispanic style cheese dip, but it's what I know. And part of the fun of cooking is experimenting, you know? Oh my god. Really? Whatever, dude. Making a fucking mess. Where's my teaspoon? Here we go. So, you know my brown ass can whip it. You need queso tips? Make that Ryu, baby. I mean, if you have tips, I'm down. But I'm also, like I said, I'm kind of experimenting with this just to see how it turns out. So we'll do a teaspoon of flour. That should be enough. We don't want to go overboard. Teaspoon. We're supposed to be 1 to 1. 3 teaspoons and a tablespoon. We're going by a tablespoon of butter. So, teaspoon. So this part I won't be able to really show you based on our camera angle. Secret is the consistency, start thicker, go lighter, stay at a low temp. Right. So again, I won't be able to show this part to you because I've only got the one cooker for here, so you'll have to take my word for it when I say if I'm like stirring something over here out of frame. I'm either working on the steak, which is unlikely because that's gonna go here, or I'm working on the roux, or the cheese sauce. So, put a little bit of oil in, just a smidgen. Get a spatula, and we're just gonna bring it in. Again, we're not ultimately looking to cook these just yet. We're just, again, trying to encourage moisture loss, but I will bring up the heat just a smidge. That's that. So now, grab my knife. So equal parts butter and flour. We're going to take the flour out because you do butter. You melt butter first when making a roux. Let me scroll down so I can see what y'all talking about. Bring that back down. A little too warm, but that's okay. So the goal for the roux is where we basically cook or whisk until the raw flour smell is gone. Okay. So medium heat to start. Take our tablespoon of butter, drop it in, get that going. Let me see if I can find the whisk. I don't know if we actually have one. Here we go. So turn that down. We don't need it too high. How's everyone doing tonight? Yeah, I brought the heat down just because, you know, we're not trying to, like I said, I've said a million times, we're not looking to cook onion through. We're just encouraging moisture loss and getting them a little translucent. There's not so much that I'm going to be able to do about the sound of the cooking, just because of, you know, the nature of how I'm doing this. It's just the shotgun microphone mounted to the camera. So, Butter is melting down nicely. So we'll have to grab the milk in a second. I need to... Once things get going, they really get going. Okay, I need to shred some cheese. Of course I do. Fuck it, there's cheese in there. Just letting you know, I appreciate it. Doing pretty good. You're cooking a steak, made me hungry, so I ordered a pizza. Hell yeah, dude. Just plain Grand Blue. Grind that raid, bud. So we're gonna grate some cheese, because who doesn't like cheese? I've actually never used this type of cheese before, so I'm not sure how well it will grate. It doesn't look like it's doing super great. Might be a little too... Might be too much moisture in it. I probably should have frozen it. Okay. I'm just gonna go bananas on it and see what we can get. Because if this doesn't work, I'm gonna have to chop it. Which, not a big deal, but I would have liked to have just used the grated cheese. But there's so much moisture in this cheese that it's just, I don't know if you can see it, it's just sticking to the inside of the grater. This is part of cooking, it's a learning experience, you know? Sometimes things don't go how you expect. So you gotta adapt on the fly. Move this aside. Moving this, put the flour in. So I'm going to be over here for a sec. I'm going to be working on this. Okay. So that's good. We're going to now add some milk to create the actual sauce. I hope this is good still. Yes, okay, cool. Make sure you're cooking with not expired milk when doing stuff like this. This is way too warm. So, stir in some milk. And we're going to let that cook down some. Adjusting as need be. Sometimes I don't do my equal parts properly, so it doesn't turn out quite right. But you know, like I said, cooking is a learning experience. I'm sorry, that probably sounds god awful. So because that kind of sucks, I'm just going to slice it. It should melt just fine because of the moisture. I'm not super worried about it. Those onions are starting to look good. Cutting this up. Okay, so it's a decent amount of cheese. Let's see how this is doing. It's not quite where I need it to be, if I'm honest. So where did I put my flour? Oh Lord, okay, here it is. So we're gonna add a little bit more flour and a little bit more butter. So another teaspoon of flour, and I'll put in half a pat of butter. just because I'm mostly just eyeballing this at this point. Put the butter in, bring the heat up just a touch, and whisk. Bring that back in, and now we're starting to look good. Getting a little creamy. That's what I like to see. So we'll let that come up to temp a little bit, mostly so we can get the that butter melted. We'll slice up a little bit more cheese because I'm feeling cheesy. All right, so that's good. We'll open up this can of green chilies. They're mild, which is kind of whack, but that's okay. Smell good. Okay. I'm actually going to reserve, I'm going to put some of this chili liquid in with the bechamel or the roux to add some extra of the chili flavor. And of course I'm going to chop some up for the cheese sauce to add some heat. So, probably one, maybe two. We'll see. Yeah, we'll do two. Fuck it. I'm gonna go stir this, check in. Don't leave your sauce hanging too long. That's a good consistency. I'm gonna add a little bit more milk, just a splash, because we're also gonna be putting some of the chili water in, of course. So we'll put some of that in now, just for flavor. What can it hurt, you know? Chili water. Mix that up. I'm not going to season it just yet. Check for salt and pepper, or salt. I'll season to taste once the cheese is added, because you know cheese is naturally pretty salty. So, okay. I think we are at a reasonable place to add the cheese to the sauce. Hell yeah, onions, creamy on the streamy. How's it going, KMM? Good to see you, man. All you have to do is turn the cheese. Well, I'm not sure what that was in reference to, but we're already here. So I'm gonna add the cheese to the sauce so it can start melting. Mix that in. Let's check the temp of the steak. It's probably close to like 70 at this point, because again, 86. Remember, I said it was a pretty thin steak, so it will come up to temp relatively quickly, which is good for our purposes. So, bring the roux, and this is how we're looking, just so you know. Trying to get a decent view of it. It's coming along pretty creamy, looking good, kind of stuff I'm trying to see, you know? So let that cook a little bit more. Dice this up a little bit more fine if I can. Turn this back into frame. Back in private frame. You know what? We'll just fry the rest of these for this inside of the quesadilla. That sounds pretty good to me. Moving, keep it moving, keep it moving. God knows we do not want to scorch our delicious cheese sauce. It's the last thing we need. But it's looking good. Might need still a little bubbly. Pea creamy, I'd go thicker. It's pretty thick. Like, now that the cheese has incorporated some, like it's a pretty good consistency, I think. So we're gonna cook that down just a little longer before we incorporate the chili. Actually, fuck it, we'll do it now. We're doing it live. Alright, so sliced green chilies. I put a fuckload in because I like the flavor. Mix that in. Let that cook down just a little longer, not too much. And let's pour some of this for flavoring here. We'll crank the heat on this a touch. And we'll slap one in. Dice it or chop it in strips. So we can get some color on the chili. So it's gonna get a little loud. I did raise the heat. We've sweated these, so now I'm gonna try and get some color. You know what? More chili. Hopefully everyone in the chat is doing well on this lovely Saturday evening. I'll be honest, it barely even feels like time has passed. I've been quite enjoying this long stream. Okay, so to mitigate this sound a little bit, I'm going to move it off to the side some. Like, it's still going to be there, it's going to be loud, not much you can do about it, but it exists. Taking the final, I'm sorry, bud. But hey, at least when you're done with the final, you don't have to do the class anymore, right? Alright, so we're at a good spot with the cheese, I think. It's looking pretty darn dank, but the most important part, we gotta check for seasoning. See how it tastes. It's important. So it coats the back of a spoon quite nicely. Could use, definitely needs seasoning. Needs a good bit of salt and a lot of pepper. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Get you out of there. Here you. You don't belong in there. Okay. So more chili water. We will season with salt, healthy pinch of salt, and some cracks of ground black pepper. And we'll bring this back over to the heat. Let that incorporate some steak, 97 degrees. I'm probably gonna chop up these last two chilies for the cheese. Sounds much better? Yeah. So like the way that this works is this microphone that's attached to the camera shoots like right here. Like it kind of comes out in a cone, but it's mostly right here. So having stuff over here or over here should assist in the sound pollution. It's also just not fizzling as much. So. More chili, because I want it. Put this in, mix that up. I almost touched my hand with a hot whisk. Oh, good Lord, making a mess. The most important thing about being in the kitchen is being safe. Safety is priority number one. Flavor is priority number two. Because you can't enjoy delicious flavor if you're dying. Okay, so a little more. I'm also going to add a splash more of milk, just for texture purposes. It was kind of, the cheese was kind of gritty. That comes from not grating it, you know. So we'll turn up the heat a little bit more so we can kind of encourage the breaking down of those fats so that it will emulsify a little bit better. And then if we want to thicken it up, we'll just add some more flour. Looking better. There we go. Now we're starting to get color on these vegetables too, which is good. Something we want to happen. So we're coming up to basically the end. The last things that we need to do is, we need to finish this. We need to confirm that our cheese sauce is good. Clean up. Most important, clean up. Because you don't want to leave a fucking mess in your kitchen. That's the worst. Okay, so that is good. Need some bags for that. So hopefully everyone is having a good night. Hopefully this has been at least somewhat enjoyable broadcast experience. I guess I would imagine that at the start it was pretty rough. No pun intended if he's here. But we're trying to make it happen, you know? Okay, so we're bubbling. Not exactly what I wanted, but it's not also not necessarily a bad thing. Because again, the higher the heat, the quicker that fat is going to break down. So, ow! Oh, that's hot. Woo! Ow. Ooh, that tastes good. Ooh, damn, that tastes good. So flavor, good. Consistency is a little off, as I'll show you. But it's also hot. When it cools off, it'll thicken up again. But as you can see, it's a little runny. Like it's not adhering to the whisk as much as it was. So I'm going to take it off the heat. Or off high heat, rather. I'm going to put it on basically simmer. Ow. I really fucked up. Like the production. Yeah, I kind of want to keep doing this. It's fun. I'm enjoying myself. So I'll bring the cheese, Jesus, over here. Bring the veg into frame just so you can see it. We are getting some color, but now we're going to clean up our cutting board and prep for the steak. Oh Lord, I'm like 2.5 steps from making a huge fucking mess. I just want y'all to know. Okay. So we're not at the point where we need to worry about like cross-contamination. The meat will be cooked when it is exposed to this cutting board. as will the peppers and onions, obviously. So we're not worried about that, but we just trying to keep shit clean. We don't want to get our steak all sticky, and it's just, no one wants a dirty cooking space, you know? It's no bueno. Throw this out. Open this up. Clean off, clean off, clean off. So Brian, cooking mama, Dad said to use gloves, and he wants to know if you washed your hands. I've been religiously washing my hands because I'm cooking and I'm an adult. I think my guests are here. The smashers are home. So, pretty good. Bring this back. Tagged you in something on Twitter. Good counter clean. I give that a 9 out of 10. It could be better, but I also, you know, I'm still cooking on it, so I'm not gonna do like a full deep clean just yet. So, little tech. If you don't know, if you're using a cutting board, and you don't want it slip sliding around. That was a Facebook message. Okay. Sorry. So if you don't want your cutting board slip sliding around, some hidden tech for you. Wet a paper towel. Doesn't have to be soaking, just damp. And you place it underneath. And now your cutting board doesn't move. My dad wants to know if you deliver. I can. I also cater. That might be easier. All right, so steak 110. I'm gonna turn on the light. I want to take a look. Just a look. Okay, yep. Not looking pretty, but such is the life of a reverse sear. They don't look great when they're cooking. They just kind of get gross and gray, and it's just not very appealing. But it cooks all the way through at a consistent temperature, which is what we're looking for. And then, to wrap up, we sear on a ripping hot skillet to get a crust. So these are pretty much done. I don't want to overcook them. I'm going to take them out, put a bowl, cover them for now. I've kind of overdone this process a little bit faster than I anticipated. I thought the steak would cook a little bit quicker considering how thin it was. I was wrong. It's still got another about 20 degrees before I'm happy with it. So we can either do short little Q&A, or I can see if I can whip something else up pretty simple to go with the dish. I will leave that up to y'all's discretion. So we'll bring that. We'll just turn this down. We don't want it to lose too much heat, but we also don't need it ripping hot the entire time since we're not cooking with it yet. So for the moment, we'll take a breather, and we'll talk. Keep whipping. You making me hungry. What is he doing? A fake cooking show? He probably thinks I'm a pain in the ass. It's not fake if you're watching. If you're watching, it's real. So keep whipping, huh? Let's see. Can I whip anything decent? Do we even have anything worth adding? Not really. not really worth like busting anything else out for. So I guess we'll take a look at this cheese sauce again, see how it's doing. It's still pretty thin. The addition of the water from the chilies and the little bit of extra milk I used to encourage the breakdown of the fats has made it thinner, so I'll probably add a little bit more flour. I'll wash the spoon off real quick. So we can give it a good old flavor check. You're making me hungry. Got him? Yeah. All right, so still coats the back of a spoon nicely, which is good. That's what we want in our sauce. Dad is in the driver's seat dying. What's up, Mr. Shapiro? Hopefully you guys enjoy the movie. Or enjoyed the movie. It is over. So it's still a little thick. I'm not super happy with the consistency, but I don't want to fuck with it too much because we've got a good flavor. We got a pretty good flavor thing going. So I'm going to add like very, very small increments of flour to this just to encourage some sort of thickening. The texture's not ideal. If I'm gonna be honest with you, it's still, when you eat queso, you expect it to be like smooth and creamy, but like the consistency is good. Texture's not. The texture's still a little gritty. That again came from the fact that I didn't grate the cheese all the way. If I had frozen the cheese block before grating, I'm sure I would have gotten better results. But things to know for next time. But overall, I'm pretty happy with my, going with the concept of the roux. Still missing something. Add a little bit. Ooh, actually, we're gonna cross over. So we're gonna add some. Where is it? So I want to add heat to kind of entice the flavor to come out a little bit, but I don't want to add any more like pepper flavor or anything like that. So I'm gonna put a very, 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 very light dash of chili oil in. It's gonna give it a kind of almost chorizo kind of color. Like you can see there's like a very, very light orange to it now. But that's gonna add heat without giving any sort of flavor, Which is what I'm looking for. It's not quite spicy enough to where I want it, because I didn't buy the right kind of pepper. All right, so taste test. That's good. Perfect. Gotta go, must eat now. Sorry I made you hungry. All right, so we're still about 13 degrees off temp. So, check in with you guys, see how you're doing. Anybody got anything fun going on in their lives? I'll have to highlight this segment because I actually have no idea what it's looked or sounded like. So. whipping. How was the movie for you, if you guys are still listening? Did you enjoy it? Did you cry? I'm sure you cried. I would have cried. I'm not even like big into the Marvel movies, and I probably would cry. Amber, is it time for cooking food, fat boys? Well, you've actually come in at the tail end of the process. The steak is coming up to temp. We've made ourselves a nice little queso sauce, and we fried up some onions and green peppers to go in our quesadillas. Oh man, that stove area is gross. I'm gonna clean it real quick. I think next week I say, like I'm gonna do this weekly. Next cooking show, we'll do some Korean barbecue style ribs. I'll probably pre-film the prep process and play that out at the top of the show, and then we'll get to the actual cooking process after the fact. But for now, we're worried about steak. So we're at 118 right now. So we're still 10 degrees off. I could, technically speaking, I could bring it up to temp in the skillet itself, but that would kind of increase the gradation of doneness. The idea of the reverse sear is that it's medium rare from basically edge to edge, and it's got a like nice John Barefoot Contessa last name. I'm wearing socks, thank you very much. So we want it with basically a done, like a medium well crust and medium rare throughout. If I were to pull it now and then put it in the pan, it would be medium rare mostly throughout, but we would probably get some, like a ring of medium and then, the crust medium well. So, but honestly, at this point, I'm kind of okay with it because I'm hungry and I want to kind of get on with it. So for future reference, we know it's going to take a little bit longer to cook, or we can just increase the heat and cook it a little bit faster. But for now, we are going to remove our little hunk here. It's not very pretty, as I kind of explained earlier. A reverse sear, kind of like sous vide, because it's a similar cooking style. It doesn't produce very aesthetically pleasing results to start, but the thing is, this is 120 degrees throughout, so it's from end to end, top to bottom, it's rare, which is basically what we want. We wanted it to be medium rare, so we want it to cook a little bit longer, but we don't always get what we want. So for now, I'm just gonna crank the heat on the skillet. This looks okay. So we crank the heat on the skillet. We're gonna let this come up. It's set to 375. It's gonna be hot. It's gonna make a lot of noise. That's fine. That's what we want. So we're gonna by try, we mean we are going to sear the outside of the hunk of meat to create a crust and lock in any juices, blah, blah, blah. No, like I said, visually it's bad. It doesn't look good. That's like the point of the reverse sear. It doesn't come out looking pretty until you sear it. Like the point of reverse sear is to ensure proper temperature, like you control your temperature more efficiently than by just pan frying, and then you create the visual, you make it aesthetically pleasing at the very end. So temperature is probably coming down on this a little bit. So we want to get this as hot as possible, as fast as possible. We're also going to put some oil in there. We'll just use fat. We'll use butter. What's it gonna hurt, you know? I am a little worried about the seasoning on the steak. It looks like some of it has come off. The exterior is extremely dry, which is good. That's what we want. Stir the cheese. So we're gonna cut off another little pat of butter for frying. So butter, put this in the skillet. There it goes. Nice, good sound. Now I'm gonna do a quick little swap here. We'll see how this goes. It's not quite hot enough yet, but that's fine because we are a little bit below my ideal temperature. So it's okay if it cooks a little bit more on the skillet itself. So we're gonna take this slab of slop. Sorry, I know, I'm sorry. And then we'll put this front and center. So we're gonna leave it. Usually you see people with like, you wanna flip it, you wanna move it, no, we're gonna let it sit. Keep as much contact with the heat as possible, for as long as possible, to ensure that we get good color. Oh yes, let those meat juices drip all over the laptop. Nice one. The laptop's right here. The meat's right here. We're fine. I'm prepared for any sort of nightmare scenario. Smells good. Alright, so again, like I mentioned, I'm a little bit worried about the seasoning, so I'm going to add a little bit of extra salt to the exterior. It's mostly going to come off in this cooking process, but it's mostly just for me, to make me feel better. Okay, so it's sat for a decent amount, so now we're going to go for a flip. And if I did my job right, it looks a little bit better. Got some, this part didn't touch the grill as much, but we get some good color here. So get that deep brown that we want to see. Looks good. So I'm probably going to do this side again. Just for aesthetic sake, and also it does need to cook a little bit longer. It was only 120 degrees. I'm gonna make John teach me how to make mac and cheese. Mac and cheese is very easy. It's the exact same process that I used to make this cheese sauce. You just use different cheese. So, this is normally not something I recommend, but I do want to encourage everything gets contact. So I'm going to press it down. We are going to lose some of our juice by doing this, but not a lot. It's not that fatty of a piece of meat, so there's not a whole lot of fat to expel. But again, I want to get as much browning as possible. so it doesn't look like trash. All right, so we'll do another flip. Yeah, that's looking good. More pressing. I'm sure you can barely hear me over the sound of the steak. That's why I've raised my voice a considerable amount. That's gross. Another flip. There we go. Look at that color. Yeah, baby. Okay, so we're good. This is as done as I want it. So now we're going to remove it from the heat and set it aside. Now this meat has to rest for a couple minutes. So in the meanwhile, I'm going to reduce the heat on my skillet. I'm going to clean it off so I can cook my tortilla. Where are you at? Right up here? Yep. All right. So I was going to do tacos, but I forgot to buy a nice corn tortilla. So I'm just going to make quesadillas by frying these up, just plain flour tortillas with the meat inside. Once it's cut, of course, and cutting it. So this is still extremely hot. We want to be careful. We don't want to burn ourselves. So, but I'm not going to like wash it. I'm just going to clean some of the gunk out. You know, this ring of fat and gristle and the leftover oils from the veg. So we're gonna wipe all that up. Ugh. Because that is not good eats, as beautiful chef Alton Brown would say. Oops, I am rinsing off my, what's it called? Toppings. Not good. Not bad, but not really good. Okay. So, that looks pretty good. But I'm going to wipe it off again. Just because I'm anal like that. Wipe it. Okay. So this is good. This is ready to go for our final step. So I'm gonna move this back and we can take a look at our steak again because it's looking pretty good. Losing some juice. See, this juice running off is why we rest our meat. Because we want to discourage that as much as possible. That juice is flavor and we want to retain that. So we're not going to move it anymore. I just want to take it in. It looks good. Thank God you guys can't see my sink because it's a nightmare right now. Oh, I forgot to put my onions back in the fridge. No big deal. Oh dear. Stay in the bag, please. Mr. Onion, stay in the bag. Alright, cool. Alright. Ugh. Gross. Whoever used this knife did not clean it. It's got some fucking gross ass. Looks like green onion, dried on green onion. Ugh. Gross. Better. Better, better, better. Okay. Probably use the sharpen this knife. So we'll sharpen it while we're waiting anyway. Okay. And last but not least, normally I'd use another paper towel, but I'm kind of pressed for time. By pressed for time, I mean I'm lazy, so I'm just gonna do that. So we're still getting quite a bit of juice loss here, but I just want to take a look at it at this point, see how it turned out. Ooh. So again, because I did cook it in the pan for a little bit longer, you may be able to see it's not pink all the way from one side to one side. There is a little bit more brown, but despite the fact that it was a lean cut, we are delicious and tender. Ooh. So let's take a look deeper in the center, and then we got more of that pink. Ooh, yeah. All right. Damn, I'm good. Get some of this gristle out. I mean, that's fat, but normally I'd save it or just eat it because the fat's flavor. But because this is such a lean cut, that fat's not going to be very good tasting. It's going to be just kind of more gristle, just a lot of chew. Not nice. So we will cut this into strips to prepare for the quesadilla. Best part about cooking for yourself, no one gets on to you if you eat before it's plated. Man, that's good steak. That is good. Yeah, but see all this moisture, this juice loss? Ideally, this doesn't happen as much. Like, you can't really avoid it in my experience. It's hard to avoid without a rather long resting period. Or, like, pre-roasting it. Yeah, see? Here's a good example of how it got pretty brown in some of the areas. Just because of the expedited cooking process. It's actually pretty common for people to not enjoy like the fat pieces in steak. Like, it's more common than you'd expect. But me, I'm a fat guy. I'm a fat guy and I'm a fat guy. You know what I'm saying? You're picking up what I'm putting down? Damn. Honestly, it's a little overcooked. It's more medium than medium rare, which was to be expected, but it's still surprisingly tender. It turned out very well. And I'm glad I added that extra salt before or during during the sear, because it is now perfectly seasoned. I'm just gonna keep on cutting. So it also depended on like where the meat was in the pan. Like that portion I showed you earlier, which was mostly brown, was I think more towards the center of the pan, but we've got some like stuff that was sitting on the outside of the skillet and it's very rosy. So I've also never used this skillet before, so I'm not really sure where the hot spots are per se, like where it gets hotter than you would anticipate. So this is, if I'm going to continue doing this, this will be it'll be good to learn like where my where I want to keep my the meat so I don't overcook it. And that's something that you need to do with your cooking apparatuses as well. Every stove's different, every pan's different. Unless you're using like cast iron, which heats basically evenly throughout, you need to make sure you know where your pans like to retain their heat, so you don't burn your food or undercook your food, which is more of a concern. You don't want to get yourself sick. So make sure you know where your hot spots are and where your cold spots are, so you can use them to your full advantage. So that's my little sermon about food safety. There's a big old steak ready to go. So I'm going to plate this up. Blah. Alan, I see you've joined the chat. Let me take a look at what you've said once I've done this. So again, the steak is cooked, our meat is cooked, it's where we want it, everything is good. So in the process of making the quesadilla, we want to do it relatively quick. We don't want to put too much heat on it because we don't want to overcook anything. Everything's cooked exactly how we want it, right? So now that we're in a good spot, I'm just kind of mopping this up because it's flavor. It's not bad. It's not going to cross-contaminate anything. So with this, and this. Bring this over. We will crank the heat back up. We'll do it to 300 degrees. Good thing I'm not hungry or I'd be mad right now. BRB not here yet. Look at that juice. Yeah, it's pretty good. Ideally, that would have, again, stayed in the meat, but we are moving at an expedited pace, so there's only so much that I could do. This cheese sauce is a good consistency. We've already established that it's good flavor. So now we're just going to bring this up to temp. I'm going to grab a plate out of my dishwasher because I have not put my dishes away, so we can plate up when the time comes. Bring this up. And now we're not going to add I don't want to add any oil or anything to this. I just want to basically do the same thing that I did to the steak. I just want to sear the exterior of the tortilla. So, where are my tongs? Okay. So we'll take some steak. Nice little fatty pieces. Good amount. We'll take some of our veg. I should have made more veg, just because there's not much. I severely underestimated. And now, pièce de résistance. I'm gonna do a risky maneuver here. Actually, you know what? I'm so fucking smart. So fucking smart, guys. So we'll take some of the cheese sauce, put it in this ramekin for easy transporting. So this is quesadilla. We're gonna plop it down, even it out just a little bit. And we're gonna pour our cheese sauce right on top. Hell yeah, brother. Come on now. Work with me here. This is TV. Cool. So without burning our little fingers, gonna do that and begin. So we're just gonna brown this tortilla and then we're good to go. Just got some spaghetti. Hell yeah, dude. I need a clean dish rag. Here we go. That. So this isn't quite as hot as I need it to be. Like, it's not like super hot. It's not super cold either. So raise the temp just a bit. Because yeah, this should be brown by that point, as long as it was sitting there. So I raised the temp just a bit. This fucking steak though. It's so good. So we're getting some browning. That's what we want. And I can't help myself. I'm just gonna keep eating pieces of meat. All right. Normally, I would have it go longer, but I'm hungry. So, I'm calling it done. So, we're gonna take that, remove it from the heat. We will chop it up. You know, it's not perfectly, like it's not the ideal quesadilla because the tortilla didn't crunch. That's okay. The only problem is this gets hot. Idea for future use a pizza cutter instead of a knife. Might yield slightly better results. Okay. So, last little thing, it's a presentation. It's not very pretty, but it's food. You gotta eat it. So, because it's food and you gotta eat it, take a look. Pretty good. Hang on. There you go. Bring it back. Let's talk. What's up? I'm gonna lean in a little bit. Pretty good. Steak's well cooked. The veg is good. The cheese sauce is nice. I wish I had more of it. And because I'm the master of my own destiny, I'm gonna add some more of it. And yeah, that's some cooking. So I'll see you guys on the other side. Bye.